For this episode, we have the Miller boys and Craig and myself. You guys can introduce yourself. Just give your name.
It's Cain Miller on this end.
Hey, Brother Lane here.
Okay. Yeah, everybody knows these guys and that they can kill deer. Shoot, we've been trying to get this podcast for like the last 3 weeks, but they won't get out of the woods. Too busy dragging and everything else. So we just want to have them on and talk a little bit about whitetail hunting and some of their tactics and ideas and methods and things like that, because they kill deer every year and multiple at that. So due to working at Cain, of course, not just
the coveted Cain tag.
We can explain that later too. But so you both shot 2 bucks, right?
Yeah.
So far?
So far we're 2 for 2, yeah. We got another tag left on both ends here, so we'll still be hunting a little bit.
So Cain, you killed one with a Cain gun and a bow.
Mm-hmm.
A private, whatever.
Private, yeah.
And then you killed one.
Yeah, I killed one real early, October 2nd, off base, private, and then I think it was October 28th when I shot the Cain deer.
What? Did you guys score them? Any of them?
I scored the one I shot on base on Cain. It was just a good 8-pointer, and he come in. It's a Cain gun hunt. You don't get a lot. You get 3 days.
You get 3 Sundays.
3 Sundays, and they're spread out, so it's pretty. You got to make a pretty quick decision, and it was a really good 8. I was in there, and he came in and done it perfect. It was a classic rut hunt. It's just hard to pass up your rut. So
It's one of those we'll shoot and measure later.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
So for people listening that don't know, like Cain Naval Base, you can hunt, you can buy military refuge tags, and you can shoot one on base, 1 buck with a refuge tag with a bow, and then you get 3 Sundays to hunt with a shotgun, and you can shoot another buck. And then you can shoot one off base, just private or public, whatever. So you can shoot 3 bucks if you work at Cain, if you're an employee or spouse or whatever.
I'm about to be an employer of Cain for too long.
it's fun deer hunting out there.
Yeah, I mean, 60,000 acres or so. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't hunt it all, but basically, yeah, and it's all hardwoods. So I guess we can go into that, like hunting hardwoods. Like, how do you even get started picking a spot other than getting out there and looking? But like, when you're hunting woods like that, it's not like hunting cornfields or hunting tree lines. Like, what do you guys look for? You just to go in and look for sign, like, or what?
I think the first thing we do is look at Onyx, and we'll pick. I mean, we got hundreds of pins that we think look good from the aerial view, and then of course going in and walking. Because a lot of times you got a spot that looks real good from the aerial view, and you go in, they just logged it, or it just ain't right.
Looks totally different.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think boots on the ground, just like he said, we drop hundreds of pins, and you know everybody that's on Onyx and looks at a topo, everybody kind of looks at the same thing. You got saddles, you got ridges, anything funneling in, it looks like a pinch point, especially in big timber. But you get in there and get boots on the ground. Sometimes it looks like crap. You know, there's good timber, there's bad timber. You get into a bunch of white oaks and stuff like that. I think anytime you can get on an open white oak ridge, and there's a lot of clear cuts up there anymore too, that anytime you're up, you got a white oak ridge next to a clear cut and a saddle. Sometimes it just all comes together, and you'll find the sign right away. It doesn't take long. And we've got a couple spots out there that we found that over the years have just been a lot better than others.
I think the big thing up there too is there's so many the ridges and the hubs and stuff like that. It's intimidating looking at it on a map, but when you really get in there and narrow it down, you can really. It's big, but you can still find those pinch points where the deer. You're increasing your odds drastically by finding those and just making it closer.
One thing that I've kind of figured out hunting big timber, like, I feel like you can hunt some mornings, you think it's a great spot, and you'll never see a deer.
Oh, yeah.
You go back the next morning, you get the right doe in there, especially in the rut, and you'll have every buck in. Like, it can be totally different hunts on 2 different mornings.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. I think big timber, a lot of times what you run into is just like your doe groups and your groups of deer in general. They move from ridge to ridge, and I mean, just like Craig said, there's times where you're on a good ridge and there's all kinds of sign. You'll hunt a morning, you won't see a deer, and you sit it 2-3 times in a row, that third hunt you'll see 15 deer kind of cruising all. I mean, just all coming from every direction.
Yep.
And it's just in a big timber like that. I think they can move around so much, and
it's not like hunting a field you can't see forever.
Right.
I mean, you can only see a certain amount. So
yeah, don't get me wrong, I love hunting fields. I think I think I'd pick a field any day because gosh, you can see them so well. And anymore in Indiana, you can use rifles and stuff. But man, it's fun in the timber with a bow. It's just
So like early season, you're looking for acorn, white oaks, like food source. Is that what you're focusing on? Like late October time frame?
Yeah, I think definitely having the white oaks there is it definitely helps you. And then, I mean, I always like to find, hillsides and stuff that are really thick, and then close to that is open acorn and stuff like that. And then, of course, getting in there and finding a bunch of big rubs and scrapes, definitely big confidence booster because you can't run cameras up there. But
And on base for that big timber, I think it's without cameras and stuff. It's just so hard to pattern them early season. Early in the year, you don't really you feel like you're doing more harm than good when you go in there and scout an area. So I think for the most part over the last couple of years that we have hunted the big timber up on base, that I'd say it's October 20th by the time we actually go in and start hunting. I think my first hunt on base up in the big timber this year was October 20th or 21st. Which I struggled all year up there this year. It's kind of.
And we talk about on base big timber, but like this can be applied to any big woods, like any public, like big woods, whatever. Like
we've got so much Hoosier National and all this public ground around us.
There's places in Martin County that you can look at a map and I mean they're identical to Cain.
Yeah,
so they're out there.
Just rolling hills and big ridges, and flats, and different things like that. So. Yeah, it's just like you said, getting out there and looking. You can't just just hope and pray when you show up there's something there.
Yeah. More times than not, I feel like when you step in there, you go in to look at that spot that you had pinned for days and you're so excited about. I feel like more times than not you go in there and you're like, gosh, dang,
it ain't near what you thought. Yeah.
That's funny. So if you could pick 5 days out of the year, what days are you picking to hunt?
Me,
you can go first.
Me and William, I think we'll differ on this. I mean, when it comes down to weather, I think you would probably agree more. But in my opinion, if I can get a cold front on October 25th for 5 days, 7 days, if I can get that cold front to start there and run right into the front of November, I'm picking late October every year. I just think that. The bucks are still by themselves. That first doe's not quite went into estrus, and I think you just get a lot of bucks just starting to search on their feet, checking scrapes.
Yeah, scrapes are fire that time.
Yeah, the scrapes just blow. If you could go scouting that time of year and find a fresh scrape line on a ridge top or anything like that, and that's on private, you can find a fresh scrape line on a field edge. And that time of year in a cold front, they can hit that scrape any time of day. And I just think you get new bucks moving into areas. I just feel like I've had a lot of luck over the years. I think 2 years in a row. Last year and the year prior to that, I killed them on October 30th. Both years, 2 years in a row, I killed a really good deer on October 30th, and both of them were basically doing the same thing. They was, out checking scrapes and trying to bump a couple does, checking for any does in heat. And I think, like I said, if you get the weather front, obviously it's October 25th to November 1st. I don't think there's any question about that. But if the weather front's not there and it's going to be warm like it was this year, that bumps me back to where Lane's time span is going to be. That's going to be in the November 5th range where the rut's going to be cooking and the weather really can't phase anything out. They're going to be moving.
Yeah. So. Well, like this year was hot. Like it was 70 almost, but there's deer still running around.
Yeah, in southern Indiana, it seems like it can be 70 October 25th, and by golly, like last year, I think we may have had 2 years in a row there where October 25th it was 40s in the 40s for a high, and that's when I had all that luck. So
yeah.
So you're picking what?
Well, I think I would say starting November 3rd, 5 days in there. I definitely over the last couple of years, I like the end of October more than what I did, and I think a lot of that is just the crane effect. I feel like around here, it really gets going a little bit later, and there's still people killing big deer right now around here, but definitely, like up at Crane, like I said, the scrapes and stuff at the end of October, especially if you know there's a big one in the area, and he's more than likely going to be on one of those ridges.
I think it's just a time of year that when that October 25th time zone strikes, I think if you've got the weather, you know the big ones are going to be on their feet then. Like, there's no question about it. They're up.
Yeah.
Vice versa, when earlier in the year, that warmer, they may have been laying down, until 10 minutes before dark. So you really got to get close to the beds.
But yeah, I'm with Cain on this one too, because when you start seeing bucks chasing does, I almost don't like that as much as when you see bucks cruising, because you get bucks with does.
It's almost a luck factor.
It's a luck factor, and they're going to start getting locked down quick.
Right.
But when you got them cruising, that first couple days of November, last couple days of October, they're moving everywhere.
And definitely, like if you're on private and you've got a deer on camera, and he's on your farm, then I'm definitely going to probably start to lean more towards the end of October, because you've got him figured out, where he's bedding, and you can just about bank on where he's going to be, versus when November strikes, it seems like
and he's gone.
They may be half a mile away in a blink of an eye. But the flip side to that is, just like the deer Cain shot this year, we had 0 pictures of that deer until the very end of October. Yeah. And it's when he showed up. So, I mean, it can hurt you or help you, really.
And even from when we got his pictures to where we ended up killing him, heck, I bet that was
all
close to a mile, probably.
Yeah, 3/4 of a mile. He was on the south side of the road. One evening, I guess we got some pictures of him, and then it just so happened, north side of the road, he just got there, and it's some CRP, and it's got some white oaks and timber around the CRP and ag field, and he got there with those does, and he just didn't leave.
And I'm sure that's a topic we can touch on here now or even later. But cell cameras, that's a big, people hate them and love them. I love them because I feel like the last 2 years, the cell cam's what killed the deer for me.
No, yeah. If you see him there,
We hunted that property. We got pictures of him on the private here, and we got pictures of him. Knew he was in the area, but he'd show up on camera here or there, 3-4 days apart. We started naming him where to go, and
it wasn't a really good name, really. He was a camera star really, for that whole week.
And the thing, he would go missing for maybe 36, 46, 48 hours, but he was so regular. We were like, man, where is that guy at now? We constantly wanted to know where he was. Yeah. And then, then he'd show up with the cameras, and we know instantly because of cell cams. And we hunted that farm. I think we both took a vacation.
We killed him on the 6th hunt, and that was the only time we seen him. But there was some times where we caught flashes of deer, and there were some big, deep grunts that, he was probably there. We just didn't see him. But
didn't you get him on camera, like, behind you? One night you were hunting and he slipped through. Was that the same deer?
No,
I'm not sure if we did.
I don't think we did. No, we got him on camera. So we was talking about I killed 2 bucks this year, and so what day was that? November.
We were up the first gun hunt at Crane, and Cain, you had just shot. Mm-hmm. You just shot the one at Crane, and it was like 9:30.
November 13th, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, 9:30 in the morning. You shot at Crane, the buck.
He shot his at 8:15 or something like that, and then our cell camera went off about 9:30.
Okay.
And it was this deer going across the food plot with does, and I'm like, you're kidding me, where have you been? So,
of course, we're up at Crane in a one-day gun hunt. You just can't pack it up and leave.
Some of me wanted to stay up there and hunt, but I was, I didn't have a tag myself, but I was so hooked on this deer, just like Cain. I texted him right away and said, hey, are we going? So because it was one of those things where that little block right there was where he was at all the time. It was 9:30 in the morning. We knew those does was going to be laying down right in there somewhere. So it wasn't a for sure deal, but I mean, we felt like we had at least a good chance to see him.
I mean, he was with a doe, so a hot doe. He's not leaving.
Right.
So yeah, we got that picture, and we got that picture at about 9:30, and I had shot that deer on base that morning at 8:15, and so I dealt with that thing, got it out, got it back to the house, skinned it out, ended up taking it over to Logan's house and hanging it in the cooler. Lane has called me, probably close to 40.
Where the heck are you at?
45 times. Are we going? Let's go.
I had went down the list. I'd asked Ashley. She wasn't going to go because I think Rinley was sick, or she may have been a little bit sick. I'd asked Grandpa Dale. He's 74, 75 years old, and it's a 25-foot hang on. He just didn't think he could get in it.
And on top of things, we're both sick. It's pretty cold outside, and I've worked with the deer all day trying to drag it out by myself and everything else. He's been in the tree all day.
And I remember telling Cain, I said, he kept saying he's going to tell me if he was going or not. Well, it was like, I want to say it was 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
I was wore out. I was just laying down the couch there, and he called. I was about to fall asleep. He called and said, yeah, let's go. All right. I grabbed a cup of hot coffee, and I was down here about 15 minutes. I said, we got to be in a tree by 4 o'clock. I said, we've got to. And I remember walking up to the tree. It was like 4:03, 4:04.
All right, everybody, listen up. Loniger's Taxidermy is world-class taxidermy in southern Indiana. With 30-plus years of experience, you can trust Loniger's to make your hunting experience a lifetime memory. Outdoor enthusiasts have trusted Loniger's Taxidermy with animals from all over the world. The Loniger professionals specialize in turkey and whitetail, as well as realistic and accurate taxidermy representing 6 continents, not to mention custom scenes and habitats. At Loniger's Taxidermy, world-class isn't just a catchy slogan. They've won first-place ribbons at multiple state, national, and world competitions. Their work has been featured in magazines including NWTF, Breakthrough, Eastman's Hunting Journal, and Taxidermy Today, just to name a few. Check out their work online at lonigerstaxidermy.com or visit the studio showroom on Ville Creek Road in Washington. Give them a call today at 812-444-9381. Again, that's 812-444-9381.
Well, we crawled up, and the whole time we're looking right over there in that corner where he went. I'm looking real hard, can't see him. Well, I think we got up there. I put my big jacket on and sat down, and I think that's when, I don't know if we heard a grunt or a doe come busting out.
I had actually turned on the football game. It was like football. I'm telling you, we was beat. We'd hunted all day. I was beat. I was wet. All my clothes were sweated wet still. I had barely got out of my hunting post from that morning. I dragged the deer out in the snow. And then, I was watching. I was watching the Colts. And, Colts versus the Raiders. And I thought I heard a grunt, and I looked up Lane, and I said, "Did you hear that?" And he said, "Yeah." And we looked over there, and sure enough, we seen them. A couple does jump up, and right behind it, we seen a decent rack, and it's in a big CRP thicket right beside the food plot. And I said, "Was that him?" And we didn't really know, but he had went into a little thicket outside the CRP that they're always just chasing does in and out. Well, sure enough, we heard him grind a couple more times, and here they come out. We got a better glimpse of him. I said, "That's him." And Lane
So what time was this? Like 4:45, 4:30?
4:50. Yeah, we've been standing 15, 20 minutes maybe.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So we barely got in quick enough, and he was bumping those does around, and we could catch glimpses of him. It's through a tree line and stuff. Eventually,
I bet he made. I think Cain shot him at 5:45, but I think. He was in I bet it was a 50 by 50 area where we watched him make, I don't know how many laps through there on that doe. I mean, he was wearing us out. And then the bad thing, Riker and then his cousin went hunting that night, and they'd asked to take my grunt call. And at that point, I didn't think, it didn't sound like we were going, so I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And, so we didn't have a grunt call, so Cain struggled at the truck. I'm putting his pack on. I was like, dude, I got my backpack. We've got everything. And we got to the tree and we didn't have everything. when he was out there chasing them does, of course, a grunt call probably wasn't going to do anything anyway, but
Might have been worth a try.
We liked to think that it was going to pull him right there.
Yeah.
And we went ahead and tried.
That's what happens on TV.
We tried with our mouths. It was
I want to hear what that sounded like.
I didn't take a shot at it, actually. I said, like, how good can you, Grant? Because he's got a little deeper voice. and I heard him back there. He's trying to get it toned in. And finally, he gets it fired up. And he's grunting, and I just...
well,
just sort of wheezing there.
I remember one time I grunted, and I remember it real well because I was watching that rack straight away from me, and he was walking straight away, and I thought this sucker's leaving. I just kept getting louder and louder, and finally Cain goes, "That's enough."
I said, "Shut her down. We're getting out of hand here." So.
But before this all even happened, right when we seen him, it wasn't 30 seconds after that. He ran 3 does right out in the middle of the food plot. We thought it was getting ready to happen then, and we waited, and they went across. He never come out. It was like he's got another one in there. They're just sitting there, But yeah,
he had broke that one doe. I'm assuming the doe that was in heat off, and after he finally done that, I think they broke him off, and I think we got one more glimpse of him as these does came into the food plot. I think we got one more glimpse of him. We thought he was going to be behind him, and then he wasn't. Well, then, I bet 45 minutes went by, 30, 45 minutes went by, and we've seen 1 or 2 small bucks go into that thicket with him, and we could hear some grunting over there and rattling around, and that's, deer running around, but we never did catch any glimpses. And then finally, we had some more does come into the food plot. And then we started hearing grunting on the opposite side of the food plot. We didn't really think it was him because I didn't think he could have got.
We had deer everywhere.
Yeah, and I didn't think that big old guy could have got on the other side without us seeing him. So we could hear grunting down there. Well, it was loud enough that it drew another small buck into the food plot. Well, he started chasing the does in front of us. Just your classic November rut hunt. I mean, just stuff just kind of going off the wall crazy.
And I mean, we're guessing he was down at this. He finally bred that doe, and then he just slipped right on one of the mowed paths to the food plot, and it was just like he would draw it up. He's walking down the brush hog path.
An hour after you'd seen him.
Yeah,
it just walked right in there, real pretty. But
it's what makes the guy want to. And back in the day, we had tried to start filming some hunts and stuff, and it's just so hard. Those guys on TV, they make it look real easy, but man. All the hunts you put in, and especially when you're hunting public ground and stuff, it's a drag packing that equipment in every time. And we got away from it for years now, but we'll always pull out the phone or something. But this hunt here would have been one for the ages. I mean, we seen him 7 or 8 times, grunting, chasing does, pushing does, had a small buck chasing does in front of us, and then finally he breaks through the brush, and I hit one. I said, "There he is."
That brings you back to the favorite times to hunt. Everybody. There's not very many people at all, if you ask them, will say they like lockdown. But lockdown, I've had, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 classic lockdown hunts that if lockdown could be the best time, because if you get there...
Explain what lockdown means. People might not know what that means.
So lockdown basically is a mature buck finds a doe in heat, and she's not wanting to move at all. Like this specific hunt, I mean, she didn't move. They didn't go nowhere. So had we not been sitting there, you're not going to see her.
Right.
But it just so happened that we got inside that bubble, or whatever you want to call it. We were there, and they weren't going anywhere. So we had really the hunt of the year.
Yeah, he moved all night. I mean, he was on his feet at 4:15, and we shot him at 5:40, maybe 5:35, and in that hour and a half time frame, he had maybe moved 200 yards, like in a bubble, in a circle.
Added together,
And added. That's from where we first seen him to where I shot him was only 100 yards difference, and but he had been on his feet just going crazy all night. So
and that maybe people don't like it is because they're not ever in that little area.
But it can be,
and it's really it's all it is luck. I mean, you can try to increase your odds and try to hunt the does, as much as you can, but.
Back to the camera, if you hadn't seen him that morning,
Right.
You probably wouldn't. I mean, you
We
might
wouldn't
not
have
have.
been
You
there.
tired
Yeah,
and
you-
sick. You might have said, "Well, we didn't see him," or
Yeah.
he may not be there.
Yeah, 6 years ago, regular trail cameras, you pull that card a week later and you
Yeah,
go, man, I probably should
shoot.
have hunted him. You know, and
Yeah.
that's the things with cell cams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of states going away from them, though.
Yeah, I know.
But-
Out west, they have a couple states that I think it's illegal.
Yeah.
Trail cams, period.
Yeah, trail cameras in
Yeah.
general.
So they had cell cams legal out there, then they actually went and
Well,
Yeah.
now it's just
like
nothing.
Is it Utah?
I think
It's up until like a certain time, like July or something,
Yeah.
maybe.
like, summer
You're
scout,
not-
but then
yeah.
once the season, you can't.
They
Yeah,
They said deer and elk numbers were going down, so they blamed it on.
I can believe it.
Yeah,
to a certain,
But see,
especially-
out there, I mean, you don't have service in the mountains, so cell cams weren't a big
Right.
thing, but they manned everything. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's
Well,
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time. Just even, our dads and grandpas and stuff back in the day. I can't having these tools nowadays. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
A map, a topo map.
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. They didn't have any of that.
Wow.
They were
Talk about boots on the ground.
Yeah.
That's all they had.
Yeah.
last year. I had a hunt with a cell cam. I was sitting on a ridge, and probably 400 yards down the ridge, I got a picture of a buck, and I didn't think I wanted to shoot him. I wanted a closer look at him, so I had the horns together. And 5 minutes later, he's under my stand and grunting. If I wouldn't have had a cell cam, I'd have never seen a deer.
There's so many instances.
But there's-
that, it opens the game.
It
up
does.
they were
tremendously.
fun to use. I know that.
So like this year's deer, we got the picture of him at 9:30. Last year's deer on a property I went with my buddy, where we do a lot of work with food plots and all types of land management, and we got a picture of a really good 8-pointer going back into a bedding area that we knew, and this is in that October 25th time frame where they're not really just rogue going crazy, but they are on their feet checking scrapes. And we got a picture of the buck I ended up shooting. We got a picture of him like 4:30 in the morning going back into the bedding area. So the next afternoon I went and sat on the edge of that bedding area, and here he comes, checking a couple does and bumping a couple does and pushing a couple small bucks up a scrape line that I walked that night. See, I said, we haven't been in there to look at it in months because the cell cam has been in there.
Yeah.
Went in there that night, tore up, and shot him. Heck, I think I shot him at like 5:30 that evening. And that's
That was like
all to the
Riker's,
cell cam.
Riker's deer this year. I think he killed it on.
And Riker's your son. How is he?
Yeah, Riker's 11. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's another story by himself.
He's been blessed. Blessed.
Yeah, I think he killed a 5 bearded turkey this year and a buck with 16 points. So
My goodness.
he's got a lucky rabbit foot somewhere. But that deer there, that he shot that on October 13th, and if you'd asked me 5 years ago, would that ever happen? I said, no way, because we didn't really early season like that. We just didn't really think about hardly killing big deer, but we had a few pictures of this deer right on the edge of shooting light going by the camera, and we're starting to get a little bit excited, like maybe there's a chance. Well, the night before he actually walked right by the box in daylight, and then the next morning, the day he killed him, we had a picture. He was going back to bed. I don't know if it was like 7 in the morning or right in that time zone where we knew
he's bedded close.
he was going to be close, and
Had a cold front.
we had a cold front, so that definitely helped. And so we slipped up there, and that access was very big in that situation in the wind, because we knew he was within 100, 150 yards of where we were hunting. But we were burning that little tractor path, or that mowed path up there to the south, just burning it up looking, and sure enough some doe stepped out, and here he was. I mean, it was just it was pretty picture perfect too. I told Riker, I said, if there's ever a time we feel like Mark Drury, it's right.
If you listen to the juries at all, they do it. They do that a
exactly,
lot.
yeah.
They talk about that. If you get a picture in the morning, going back to bed,
Yeah.
they're bedded close. And
And
he's right.
That
He's
was the perfect
dead on.
world. We had the cold front, and we had pictures of him the night before, that morning, and then we had, we didn't have any pictures of him, I don't think, in daylight on the radishes. We had some at night, but we had some radishes planted to the north where they were all headed. We were in between the bed and the radishes, and it worked out.
Didn't he say? He said that morning that he'd tell Ashley or something. I seen she posted. I think we'll probably get him tonight, right?
Yeah, he was definitely confident. He had school that day. I remember he sent a text to Ashley on his phone or something. It's like, me and Dad's gonna kill that big one tonight.
That video you posted was pretty funny.
Yeah.
The coolest part of it though, he was like, "Oh, thanks."
Yeah.
Like right away, it's like, "Oh, thanks, Dad, thanks." That's the coolest thing.
He's very thankful for everything that gets done for him when the deer hunting and turkey woods. He always thanking everybody around him and thanking the good Lord right away. So he's doing it right, that's for sure.
And that time we had there was some does that come out, and they had to. We were in a box, and I told Rocker, said, we're going to leave all these windows up until this doe works by us. The wind was good, but anytime you get a mature doe in there at 15 yards, you're on pins and needles. And at this point, he was like at 70 yards, he was eating clover or something. But once she got through, I thought, we're in a really good position now. And he got, I'd say he was probably 25, 30 yards coming, and we were waiting for a broadside shot. And Riker can't really hold the crossbow and, back outside the window. I had to kind of rest it on the window. Well, I slipped it up on there. And right when I did, he just froze. And I thought, oh, Lord. Tell me he's seen that, My heart sank. And he sit there, I bet it was a minute or two, looking up at our direction. I thought, you are kidding me.
Yeah, he actually gave us quite a scare then, too. I know they waited after they shot him, he was videoing with his phone, which is not great quality, but he gave us a scare. I know we waited a good 2-3 hours to go after him, and we had the whole crew together, and I think he only went about 80-85 yards, but man, it was hands and knees almost with the blood.
Sure.
And I know
a lot of that was probably where the arrow went in the shoulder for whatever reason. When he was running so hard, it was just blocking everything off.
Yeah.
This is good. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to lead in. This is a good point to go into whether you like to shoot a compound or a crossbow, and why.
I think for I would say 99.9% of bow hunters, and I would consider a crossbow and a bow hunter in the same category. They are a bow, but I think I speak for basically everybody that you'd rather shoot them with a compound bow. It's a different type of feeling. I feel like you shoot one. I mean, you feel like you've accomplished it.
Well, shoot, you feel like you're an Indian on a horseback.
And it is a big accomplishment.
You shoot with a compound, and especially when you watch them fall, you'll never shake worse in your life.
Oh,
ever.
A mature deer that you knew about, or even a surprise, anything. A compound bow, you get them inside range, and you make that shot. And there's no better feeling. There's been years that I haven't even bought a gun tag because, heck, I want to take my bow. So
that's not why he can't shoot a gun.
That's not why. He's been around me long enough. He knows that. I think I got something figured out this year, but with the guns. But I'm one of I would rank myself up there with the worst gunshots. And that's with the scope. You give me rifle sights or just slug barrel, I'm perfectly fine. But them scopes. Boy, oh boy, they make me flinch. I don't know what it is, but I can't squeeze it out. Just like that gun I shot on base this year, or that deer I shot on base this year, that was with a 20 gauge, open sights, 70 yards, hit him center mass, right where I'm aiming. But boy, I can squeeze that off like it's no other. You put a scope on that thing, heck, I may hit the moon before I shoot. I don't know what's going on. But I did. I watched him shoot a couple of times, and he shoots. He's left eye dominant, so Lane has to cross everything up. He shoots left-handed because he's left eye dominant. Well, he keeps both eyes open and everything. And that's something I started doing is shooting. With a gun I shoot both eyes, and that's helped me a lot. But yeah, back to the bows. I think everybody's going to agree that
the challenge is there with the compound.
The challenge is what it is with the compound. But there is times where anymore a crossbow in Indiana is legal. And there's a lot of times in a bow season where that big one's out there at 60 yards or even inside that, even 40, 30 yards. And a compound, there's still a lot of question behind the shot placement, and all of those things that a crossbow takes a little bit of that out.
Oh, yeah.
And we've had some things happen in our past in bow season where we hunt a lot. We're diehard hunters, and man, it'll get you down. And it's rough. It takes you shoot one, you miss him or hit him bad. I mean, it almost takes it out of you for the rest of the year, or a time span where you don't want to hunt for a couple of days just because you're so heartbroken of what occurred. So
yeah, what could have been, what should have been, and just one flint. Like you flinch one little bit, that arrow, the arrow's going off 6 inches, and that can be the difference.
And yardage is so key with a compound too, where you got the forgiveness with a crossbow. It shoots so much flatter.
Yeah.
You don't
that
have to worry.
Deer jumping the string, and
I know. My wife shot this year. I shot with a crossbow. The last 2 years or 3 years, I've been using a crossbow. I switched. I don't know. We had it was a 3 or 4 year stretch, I think, where between me and my wife, and I think Cain was in there a couple of times. We had some opportunities at some really big deer and we hit a branch or made a bad shot, or just that problem when a big buck comes in there, you just kind of hit the panic button. On two instances, I guess, with the compound, I was target shooting the night before, and I was shooting 30, 40 yards, and I had a single pin shot or sight. Well, the next morning, I had planned, I was going to range find a few spots, get everything ready. Before I got to do that, the deer was right there, and I hadn't set my pin back or anything, he just come in, and I didn't even think about it. I'm looking at him, I thought there ain't no way that deer's more than 20, 25 yards or whatever. Well, one of them I shot, and it was right at daylight, and I watched that luminoc, he was making a scrape, I watched that luminoc go right under that sucker's heart, and I ain't kidding, he stuck his head down like this and just stared at that luminoc like, what the heck's that?
And these are big mature animals. This is what was we had on camera that we was thinking he was 170 or in that range.
Yeah, he probably did 160, and then I think it was either the year before or the year after. I think it was the year after. Ashley, my wife, I took her. I think it was November 1st. It was the same scenario. I looked off to the bottom. Seen a deer down there, a nice buck. I grunted. He kind of riding along the ridge. He's making scrapes. Same exact stand, everything. And this time, he come in, and he's coming right at the tree, and he's getting like 15 yards. I thought, oh boy, we got this sucker, So he gets there and actually shoots. And I mean, I think I had this on video on my phone or something, but she made an awesome shot. You tracking that arrow, it looks perfect.
This is still compound.
Yeah, this is compound. This is on public land, actually, in Martin County. And right before that arrow got there, it clipped a branch, and you seen a big spark. Yeah. And it went right over him, I think. But yeah, it just...
And I can think of it another time before that it probably been a year or two prior to that Ashley, you was hunting with Ashley too on some private down here by the house. And for some unknown reason, the arrow, she's low pounded. She's a woman and just a low poundage bow, but the arrow, I think it got just like an inch or two inches of penetration, dang near bounced off the deer, and this deer's 10, 15, 20 yards. Yeah. And it's just really tough. It takes a lot out of you. And the deer that she hit the limb on, that was another deer that, I can remember the phone call. Lane said, I think Lane was dang near in tears. And it was the biggest deer he'd ever seen on hoof at the time being. And
we didn't have any pictures of it, but when I called Cain, I said he's like 180, 190. And I at this time, like I said, no pictures. And then I got talking to the private landowners beside us, and they sent a picture and said, "Is this him?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's him." I mean,
it was thought to be
I don't know if anybody ever killed it. I don't think they did. Did they? Nobody ever killed that deer that we know of.
So that was about the last straw then.
Yeah, and there was a time at Cain. It was really the same scenario. Like I said, right at first light, I was sitting there, and this was probably like October 15th.
October 13th, I think is when it was.
I was doing a hanging hunt, and I got up here and I heard some deer. And I finally could see him and make it out, and it was a buck. Couldn't tell how big at the time, but he was walking right up to me. Wind was good, and then he just stopped and was just staring my way. And I was kind of waiting on shooting light and being able to see pretty good, so I was like, well, this, it ain't necessarily a bad thing. Come to find out, I had another buck behind me, and they had kind of met right there, so they were in a standoff. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but the one kind of picked me off or something. He took off trotting. the one in front of me ended up coming through, and I think he was 20 yards, I think. I mean, just a chip shot. And it was, like I said, one of those deals. I got up there. I didn't have time to do nothing, and my pin was on 30. And it was a single pin sight, which I know if I ever go back to compound, which I want to in time, but I'm going to a multiple pin sight just for that reason. But I shot that deer, hit it, but it was just high shoulder is what we're guessing. There was just little to no blood, and I don't know.
We tracked him for 700 yards.
Yeah.
Looked for him later in the year.
Jiminy.
Looked for him in shed season, and we never did find that deer. And never. It was actually close enough to private that we had pictures of the deer we thought he had shot, and never another picture after that day. So it was tough because it was a really good deer. It was another really good deer.
Yeah, so that was
in the
probably
160s range. Another distance. So that's 3 instances right there on deer that are no doubt over 150. That the compound bow, makes it tough.
Yeah. Another good thing about crossbows is it gets like your son involved.
Yeah.
Before gun season.
right.
And that's
my biggest push, I'd say, is to get people that don't hunt into it because they can hunt a lot more instead of just a gun or whatever.
Right.
But then I also don't like it because this year I had a week off vacation, and 3 times in that week I had crossbow hunters walk in on me on public land that I know for a fact have not been hunting.
And see, that's when
And I wish they would outlaw it on public land. That's my personal opinion, but
I thought that, I don't know how you would work it in because it does get so many people involved. Young hunters, old hunters, somebody that can't pull a compound.
Definitely disabled people, shoulder problems,
But
whatever.
Could there be a season for everybody? And then, people at younger, like an age class where they can use it year round, or, 15 and under can use it, and 50 and up can use it year. I don't, that's probably pretty bad. I don't know. But
I'd be curious to see numbers wise on buck sizes since crossbows have become the way they are
between
now.
cell cameras in the last 5 years and crossbows, how many deer have died that would have never died?
I think
That's
cell cameras.
technology.
Cell cameras probably, I think, would get close to trumping the crossbow effect. I feel like. I mean, at least for us.
I do too. Yeah. I do. I've used compound. It's to the point where I'll use I hunted with Lane. We took a vacation there late October, early November, and I was taking my compound, and Lane was, he was begging me to take the crossbow. And it's just, I've taken my compound so many years, and I feel comfortable shooting it. But everybody feels comfortable shooting it when they take it out there to the woods. It's when that opportunity presents itself that things seem to go AWOL.
When you got big bucks, right there in your face, it's not always easy to just hold still.
We that tree stand we was talking about on public, we've since named that stand Disaster. That's what we call that place. It's truly lived up to its name for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we can talk about the broadhead topic. I think broadhead's on the front of these bows. The compound, I think it's a lot bigger. Obviously, it's a lot bigger topic because a crossbow you can put a lot of different broadheads on top of it, and you're going to get pass-throughs every time and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go next. Is what broadheads you're using, which I know you use Rages. We've had this. What do you use? Same.
Use Rage.
2-blade.
Yep, 2-blade Rages.
Hypodermics.
We've jumped from
chisel tip.
We went through them. I think they're all good. I'm a littler guy. I got a shorter draw length. I think the hypodermics, they're a little sleeker. I think they penetrate better. And I need all the penetration I can get because I am short draw length and all that. Did up my bow to 70 pounds this year, just trying to get more penetration, but. You get into talking about penetration and you get it's a big hype, and I think the hunting public has pushed it with all kinds of talk with fixed blade and all that, and getting the passer, getting
don't
the penetration.
Get us started on that.
But the thing is, I just think a well placed shot is you can shoot a lot of broadheads, but I just think a Rage leaves such a good hole. I think you see it on so many people use Rage. I think obviously there's going to be some failures, not necessarily in the broadhead, but you're not going to find deer. But that's because
Bad shot.
The angle, you got angles you're shooting at.
Compared to a fixed blade, there are so many people shooting a rage. So you're not going to hear near the bad stories on a fixed head because a lot of people don't shoot fixed heads. And I just think the cutting diameter is such a big thing.
The more hole you got in that thing, the better. I mean, blood's gonna come out. Like
some of those holes that those rage leave. It's
I shot
unbelievable.
a doe on Saturday night when the snow was one, just because I wanted to see how much blood in the snow.
I shot a lot of deer with rage, and I can't think of too many times where I think, oh man, the fixed blade would have done me good. I really don't, just because I'm big on shooting back. With the rage, I think you can always shoot back. So I always, I've got it trained in my head that I'm going to stay off the shoulder. And then last year I made the mistake, and I hit that deer I shot in bow season. I hit him high shoulder, and I think he was 18 yards. So he was close enough to where I should kill him no matter what I'm using. But hit high shoulder, and it sounded like it hit a telephone pole. It was done. And I knew I didn't get great penetration, but it was.
I think that's what gets a lot of people in trouble too, is just hugging the shoulder.
Just trying to hit that hard. It's like you double lung that thing, it's not going anywhere.
Well, I think it's probably they don't really realize how far those lungs and vitals go back off that shoulder.
Yeah.
You can zip right through there.
But that's what I hit that deer high shoulder with a rage, and that I had 60-pound mods. I was pulling 58 pounds. I've got a 26.5-inch draw. A little bitty bow.
Kane's a little bitty guy for anybody listening. He's pulling 70 pounds and weighs 80. So
he had to do push-ups just to get to 70 pounds.
And that's what I'm saying. I hit that deer high shoulder, and people say, "Oh, you can't get high shoulder with a rage." And I hit high shoulder, got 10 inches of pin. It didn't pass through. It didn't even pop out the other side. And that deer went 80 yards, and I heard it pile up.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I think you get out there to 40 yards, and if you hit that deer in the shoulder then with any broadhead, I don't think there's enough energy there to push
40
anything.
yards. 40 yards with the compound bow, anyways, it's a sketchy shot. It can be. It can be a sketch.
With,
it is.
With big bucks,
there's so
risky.
much that can happen.
Yeah,
there's so much that can happen.
They're just dropping so quick. I watch all kinds of stuff. Whether a deer can drop quicker with its head up or head down. I've seen a lot of studies on that.
Shoot the deer with a head up, right?
Head up is what they're saying.
That's what they always say.
Because their head's down, their body just has to go down. They always drop their head first and then body.
If you guys got time to think about that, you're on a different level.
when a buck comes in there,
I couldn't tell you where his head's at. That's the thing, and this deer.
I don't know where mine's at.
The deer I shot last year, and this kind of goes back to the crossbow, because I could have so easily lost this deer I shot last year. And this is a giant 8-pointer. The deer I'm talking about is by far my favorite deer, and it's a big deer. We had pictures of him, and knew he was big. Had the pictures, cell camera pictures of him going into a bedding area, and I was in there basically anticipating him coming out. And I seen him that night. He's coming up a trail, probably 100 yards is what I see him at, and he comes up this trail, hitting scrape after scrape, gets to 40 yards, turns broadside, and I've shot 40 yards 100 times in the yard. And so I single pin sight, turn the pin to 40 yards, and piece broadside, not a clue in the world I'm around. And I settled that pin right where I thought I wanted it, and I shot a foot over that deer's back. This big 8-pointer, shot a foot over his back. He goes jogging off in the timber, and like we've been talking, no clue. Well, I have no clue. I'm in straight panic mode, so don't know what to do. I reach over, grab a grunt call, grunt at this deer that I've just shot and missed at 40 yards, shot a foot over his back, grunt, and I can't see him no more, but I can hear him walking in the timber. And that's when he comes back around and steps out at 18. That's when I shot this deer.
That's some bull.
The crossbow, that deer's probably dead, no doubt, the first shot, because it's 40 yards broadside. And I missed that deer with my compound, hindsight 2020. It's probably a good thing I did, because a lot of things can go wrong. Even if I do hit that deer, compounds, you just never know. But he comes back around, I shoot him at 18, high shoulder with a rage, and it done the trick. And
you shoot, miss, and grunt him back after, and I
can't even
my
see
eyes dilate and they run off.
Well, that's a whole other topic. The power of that grunt call, though, that time of year is just.
What's the best time of year for grunt call?
I would probably. Well, I mean, really starting October 25th, it seems like it really ramps up. But I mean,
it just gets more aggressive, as November comes.
I would say those 5 days are probably the best, but it's still working. I mean, that deer up at Cain this past weekend, it worked. And the deer I killed up there, I had not seen a deer the whole night, and I think it was probably 15 minutes before shooting light ended. I heard a grunt, and I looked down there and I'm scanning. I can't see nothing, so I pulled binoculars up, can't find nothing, and I heard a grunt again. Finally, I found him down in the bottom, and I looked at him like, is he a shooter? I couldn't figure it out if he was big enough, so I got the grunt call out. As I'm watching it through binoculars, I grunted, and that sucker ripped his head up, and he was right to the tree, making scrapes, rubbing trees the whole way.
I think anytime from October 20th up until, like you said, this past weekend we were up on base. I think the grunt call. You see a buck by himself, especially. Well, I was going to say mature deer, but the small ones seem to come in a lot easier. But if you can see him and he is by himself, and you can hit him with the grunt call, I feel like it's 75% of the time that they're going to come to the base of the tree if they don't get downwind before him.
I think you got to know the situation and how if a deer can get downwind at you. That's
and reading their attitude too. Like some will shrivel up, or it depends on if they've been.
How do y'all feel about like just blind calling, like throwing a rattle?
I would say we're both a fan of it. I think we've both had issues. I don't know that we've ever killed one that way, but we've definitely rattled a lot of good deer in.
Rattling or grunting?
Both.
You rattling the same time frame as you're grunting?
Basically, I don't.
Late October.
I mix them intertwine them both together and stuff like that. But I can think of a lot of instances just in the last year. I'm big. I rattle on the ground. I don't sit in my tree. October 25th rolls around. I don't sit in my tree for 45 minutes without grunting or rattling, and I don't really think.
And I had grunted that evening I shot. I think I had grunted probably every 20 minutes. I let out a few grunts, and I don't know if that had anything to do with him stepping down there. Obviously he was bedded close.
Well, it didn't hurt. I mean,
but it just was close enough to his bedroom. That, he was going to come check it out.
The coolest hunt I had was with a rattle. This buck came out by himself in like November 11th, a couple years ago. He's on a field checking scrapes by himself, and it was windy. I had a rattle bag, and I beat that thing because I hold my bow with one hand and had the other thing just beating it on my leg, trying to be as loud as I could. And he finally heard it. It was 80 to 90 yards across the field.
Yep.
And he stopped and whipped his head up and started shaking back and forth and just started doing this and took off straight at me. Came 10 yards from it, and that's when I shot. He had busted up sides or whatever. And he was obviously the dominant dude fighting there because, he was pissed. Like, I've never seen a deer just shaking his head like about to fight and then make a beeline straight to me. So, it just takes the right one because earlier this year...
Like turkey hunting. You find the right one.
Yeah, find one hot.
Exactly. Get them in that right mood. I think a lot of times this time of year by themselves, they're in the right mood.
You got to be a mature one too, or like the younger, bigger ones that even if they're bigger than the older ones, they still get their butt whooped. Because I did that to one deer this year. He's like a 3-year-old, and he did not want anything to do with it. He took off.
I like I said, I'm the biggest believer in calling and stuff, but I've seen many whitetails when I've been to grunt calling. I've seen Stormweed scares the crap out of me. I've had so many instances where I can't get his attention, he won't come, and I'll Snorweeds, and the next thing you know, he's out of sight.
Yeah. Well, shoot, if you rattle at him, he don't come, he's scared. Well, you don't need to shoot him anyway. He ain't the mature deer.
The buck I shot last week with the gun, I seen him cruising a ridgetop, and I'd say this is every bit of 180 yards away. And he's cruising a ridgetop, caught a glimpse of him up there, and I grunted at him right when I seen him, grabbed a grunt call, hammered him with the grunt. I thought, he had to have heard that. I had a buck right below me, about 60 yards, so I was a little leery on how hard I could call, how loud I could call, and get away with that deer not picking me out. Well, I thought I'd got that deer enough, or loud enough, the one I'd seen at a distance, because instantly he stopped and he started making a scrape. So I'm like, okay, he's heard me. He's making that scrape, and then he's going to come. He gets off that scrape. Like I said, he's up there at 180 yards probably. Gets off that scrape and still dang near straight away from me. So I'm like, well, gosh, I got to get a better look at this thing because I think it's a good deer. And this deer below me was nothing. It was this little 4-pointer or 6-pointer, nothing any size. So I just went ahead and as loud as I could grunt, I grunted as loud as that, and he stopped, and I mean, he ripped his head up. And he's 180 yards across the ditch from me. And as soon as he heard that, he heard it, ripped his head to me, and I just turned my back to him and let out just a long, soft grunt. And I don't know the difference in breeding grunt. I've never looked into that and what that means. But by God, I mean, as soon as
that one worked.
He was at the bottom of that ridge. He closed 100. He was at 180 yards. I shot him at 65 or 70. He closed that distance in 15 seconds. And he got to the bottom of that creek, seen that other buck. And I mean, instantly, as soon as he seen that other buck, just poof, like Tom Turkey. Just
that definitely helps if you
got a live decoy.
Oh yeah, he seen that small buck. He puffed up and then just went all stiff-legged. In his last 30 yards, he was just stiff-legged all the way to where I shot him at. And like I said, good reason why I shot him. It was another classic November rut hunt. Catching at one in the right mood.
With the rattling and stuff and grunting like at the end of October, it seems like it works real well, but then with my experience, it seems like a lot of times they're coming in looking, almost like a Tom Turkey. They're looking and they're going to try to get downwind. So I definitely think the wind, and that's, it's always important, but definitely. It
is like this year, and I was hunting with you that one night, Logan. I had that good buck. He's 70 yards from me. It was, what was that? It was late October, wasn't it? I think it was late, maybe first November. Yeah, first November. And he came. He was actually drinking out of the pond. It was real hot, and I knew the wind was blowing over the pond, so he couldn't get downwind of me. I should have grunted at him. Well, then another buck came in right underneath of me, and it tore him up. And he came in grunting, snort, wheezing, making scrapes. Got there a little too late. It was too dark to shoot, but that was one scenario where I knew I could have grunted and got away with it because there's no way he was getting downwind of me. Right. But that's something you really got to be careful with.
Yeah, I was a little nervous on mine because the wind was out of the east that night, and I was kind of on top of an oak flat right to my west. It was a sharp ditch. You just didn't really expect a lot of deer to be there. And I seen him straight out ahead, but he come up that west side of that ridge and got completely downwind, and he never really acted spooked, so I don't know if the wind had quit enough right there, or he may have actually smelled me and just had turned around and was heading out when I shot him. But I was definitely a little nervous there because I was still I still had the binoculars out trying to see if this was big enough deer. I almost let him walk. I'm not kidding, because I was trying to be so picky.
He told me before he left, or that week, that he said, I'm not even going to pick up my bow until I know it's a shooter. So when he called, I was like, it must have been it.
But these I didn't know it was quite that big, but I seen a good size. It looked like it had a lot of mass, so I thought. Definitely. That last look done it for him.
Those are all instances of where we've seen the deer called, but you talking about blind calling versus just calling it a deer in general. But I can't think of many times. It's obviously the success rate of calling out a deer you see, being able to see the reaction.
Right, yeah, you can read him a lot.
Yeah, the only time I've ever called in a deer blind calling was when I got that one on camera last year. That's the only time I've ever.
That's half blind, really.
That's half. I had one eye open on that one.
I can think of a time, and I still don't know, if this was the case or not, but the deer I killed 2 years ago, it's the one on the wall back here. I had called, grunted, pretty early in the night, and I would say I shot him probably 30 minutes later, and I hadn't seen any deer at all, and I called, but when he came in, he came out of the bedding area, and this is October 30th, so I don't know if this was 5 o'clock, so I don't know if he had just gotten up, but when he come in, it just reminded me that he was coming in looking, for almost looking like a fight. He came in grunting by himself, came to the base of my tree, and this had been 30 minutes since I called it, at least 30 minutes.
It does make you wonder how far they can hear.
Well, I've heard.
I know they can hear pretty good, but then there's times where you're looking at a buck and you grunt. I mean, he
acts like
you're blaring on this thing like, what is going on here?
Another call that my dad he swears by is the can call. He just,
Oh yeah.
I don't know how y'all feel about it, but he said every pope and young deer he's killed has been
That like
that.
no bleating can.
And he'll see him out there, and I don't carry one with me. I probably should.
I used to,
but I don't anymore. He was hunting with me this year, and couple bucks came running through chasing a doe. He said, "Watch this." He grunted and hit that can call, and two of the bucks came running right back to the base of the tree.
Hey, man.
And I
definitely think it works. I've done it on a lot of smaller deer and stuff, and they come right to the tree. And this week we were off together. I had a grunt call that you could slide the reed back and forth. So I did. It was a few times we put it in sequence, But yeah. I've definitely seen it work.
It used to be a must-have in my bag, and you can ask a lot of my buddies that I was. So, like I said, I'm a big caller, blind caller. I'm calling a lot, and the can call was one of the. It was something I've always did. I think if you can get a deer in sight, it's another one of those things. You can get them to hear a call. The can call is almost as deadly as any of them right there at the right time of year. So.
All right, well, we're out of time now, so I appreciate you guys being on here. I think we could talk about deer hunting and stories all night long, so I'm sure we'll have you guys back with some other hunts and stories and different things like that. So you guys got anything else you want to add or anything?
Appreciate you having us. We'd love to come back, maybe do a turkey one day.
Oh, yeah. A little before and after, I think.
Have a cup of coffee before the hunt and everything else.
Shoot, might have to have Riker on. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.